Yes, sir, Ski. Y'all know the vibe, bro. It's your boy DWaugh, co-creator of ThinkinGenWealth, back at you again with another episode for the week. Wealth talk, know the vibes. Today we're gonna do another reaction video, but we're gonna be going over one of the goats, man. We're gonna be going over a recent interview that came out with Troy Millings on the Caleb Johnson show. For y'all that don't know who Troy Millings is, he's one of the co-founders of Earn Your Leisure, aka EYL, a huge financial literacy podcast that blew up back in 2020 when COVID was busting and everybody had the PUA bread they was trying to put into the market. So it was perfect timing for them and perfect execution. They've blown up since then. They have a thing called Invest Fest that goes on throughout the August. Super fire platform. I respect them and I really like what they do because again, we all for helping us as people to get into the markets and learn that there's better ways to make bread besides the things that we see in our communities. You feel me? So boom, I haven't watched this interview yet, but I've been hearing it in a lot of group chats. I got a group chat with Mike and his family, and they all some crazy investors, and they were sharing this video. So I want to take a look into it, do a live reaction to it. I'm gonna be pausing it, going through it all this down the third, to give y'all my thoughts. But hell yeah, let's lock in, man. Troy Millings, let's see what it's about.
Think about that. So you're talking about a guy who was a phys ed teacher. He turned $100,000 into roughly 1.3 million. Wow. In 10 months. And I never looked back. I never looked back. One decision, one piece of information can change everything.
Artificial intelligence. You called it the greatest wealth transfer of our time.
We're on the cusp of everything changing, from daily tasks to mundane tasks to how we go to work. If we're not part of the conversation, if we're left out from a financial standpoint, from a technological standpoint, where do we end up? The goal is let's create 1,000 millionaires. But what if I only had $50? $50 is more than enough.
For the person that's listening, that's working that 9-to-5 job, what in your mind is step one?
I think it's an important question, and I'm going to answer it with the greatest breakdown that I could.
Troy, here's where I wanted to begin.
Yeah.
Because you and we spoke a week ago, and I asked you, I was like, what is the topic that you're just like obsessed with? Like it's the biggest opportunity that you see right now. And you gave such a quick answer. Mm-hmm. That was artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And so you said it consumes most of your time, it consumes most of your day. Why is that?
Because it's the greatest opportunity of this generation. We've been lucky enough to live through a revolution, the technological one. All the 80s babies. We lived through the expansion of what we now know as the internet, the personal compute. We lived through it. And we're at the cusp of another revolution, which is artificial intelligence. And it's very rare that happens. There's a generation that had the...
Nah, I gotta double down on that, y'all. A lot of people are underplaying what this AI thing is, what it's really going to be. You feel me? Like even in today in the workforce, I work with all different types of people, young people like myself, like 25, 26 and up, or younger. And I also work with 50, 60-year-olds. You feel me? And no one has really gotten in the grasp of how powerful AI and how GDP changing it's going to be. All right. The common thing that I tell all my people is that you're going to be expected to do 5 jobs at once because of how fast AI is advancing down the line. For me, and people haven't realized that yet, bro. And it's common with all these revolutions. You feel me? You're gonna have, when the first car was created, nobody thought cars is gonna be globally manufactured. When the internet came out, everyone thought that it's gonna be this, that, and the third. And now look at what we're doing. I'm live streaming to over how many people across platforms, over 10,000 people across all our platforms. You feel me? So like it's expanding, and he's absolutely right. We can't let it pass us, especially us as people of color, because we let everything else pass us because we didn't have the opportunity that we do now. For me, so I 100% agree with Troy right here. This is a life-changing opportunity.
At the Industrial Revolution, that changed the workforce and how we operated. In fact, some of the things we do now are kind of antiquated and still resemble the Industrial Revolution, especially schools. When you think of everybody going to the same place, a building, everybody going in at the same time, bells ringing, you moving from place to place, right? And then at the end of the day, a bell rings and you go home and you wake up and do the same thing again. And it feels very industrialized, like factory style. And so people live through that. The information age, which is technology, advanced in the 90s and early 2000s. And now we're here. And this one will be the greatest change that we've seen maybe in humankind. And I thought that, and then I heard validation from some of the greatest minds, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, Bill Gates, who was responsible for a lot of that, him and his team at Microsoft, a lot of that revolution in terms of technology. He spoke recently and said that this is the greatest technology in the history of his life. And so when a guy like that, who has such a major role and impact inside of technology, says that, it weighs heavy. And so that's why, I'm looking at it as the opportunity that it is, and trying to encourage people to look at it the same, from a number of standpoints. Number one, how can we use the technology to our advantage? How can we create and innovate inside that technology to our advantage? And obviously, how can we invest to use, that technology to help build our wealth and build our brokerage accounts?
Yeah. I want people to feel it, because you called it the greatest wealth transfer of our time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone listening at home is able to do some of the things or implement some of the things that we're going to talk about in the next 80, 90 minutes, like they smartly participate in this transfer, what is going to be the impact in their lives? Like, what is it going to mean for them and their family?
I think everything changes. We're on the cusp of everything changing, from daily tasks to mundane tasks to how we go to work. I think how education looks, how healthcare looks, all of that.
Bro, he's so right, because honestly, y'all, AI has gotten to a point where it's included in my daily tasks. Like, I have a boxing trainer through Claude that I created. 'Cause I'll be boxing, I've been boxing for about a year now. No amateur fights or nothing, but I really just like the training and the atmosphere and sparring and putting work in. You feel me? I have an old app that tracks my macros, gives me my workout schedule every day, tracks how much water I'm drinking, everything created through Claude. That's a daily thing that I use as an app. You feel what I'm saying? I wouldn't know where I would be with boxing if I didn't have that app. It's a consistent thing that I use every day. Like, every time I record something, every time I do something on TikTok or something you see posted on social media, I'm doing research using AI to speed up the process. And it's gotten to a point where I'm never going back to the OG way, where it's have to take an hour here, hour, 2 hours there, to do the research, to finally do the post. And I got to edit it now. That's going to take another hour. Now I can automate all of that through AI. And now it's at a point, I ain't never going back. You are? And that's a lot of people right now, too. There's a lot of people who's invested in this space, invested in the markets, who know how powerful it is. And I'm at a place now where they're like, bro, it's like looking up something on Google now. You feel what I'm saying? It's crazy, yo. It's only going to get more crazier.
All of that is on the drawing board for change. And it's an adaptation that we need to get familiar with, because it's going to happen whether we like it or not. And so I just had a call, right before I walked in here, about how can we turn the mundane thing into something that's not part of our daily life, right? How many emails are you answering? I just spoke to a woman who says she runs a business. Think about this. She runs a business and she hasn't answered an email herself in 65 days.
Wow.
65, that's 2 months of not answering emails, because she's prompted her agent to answer emails in the structure that she likes, to prompt in the manner that she likes, but also to remind her that she got the email, and then send it to her assistants to put any one email that is high importance at the top of the forefront of her text messages. So it's automated. Now, we're used to the age of, hey, I get a letter in the mail, right? Then we move to having emails. Now we have agentic AI that's telling us what's happening in our emails. And so we get a couple things back. Number one, time, we get convenience, and we get efficiency. So that's 3 things. But that's where we're headed. And education will be the same thing. Like I just had this talk with principals and superintendents about the way school structure will change, because it won't be about how much you know. It'll be how fast can you learn, and what will you do with the speed at which you're learning, right? Because if I have an agent that is teaching me and tutoring me 2 hours a day, do I need to be in school for 7 hours? Right? Do I have to go to college for 4 years to get a degree? Right? I don't know if we have that amount of time at our hands. at the speed technology is moving. And so that changes. Healthcare changes. When we talk about, we, you know, I try to get an appointment. It's going to take me 4 months. Well, why? There has to be, there's a bottleneck happening somewhere that an agent will figure out and expedite that. How we're going to treat disease and medicine, that will change. So healthcare will change. People are going to live longer. Well, what do we do? Because we've planned our whole lives that you're middle age at 35 or 40. Well, what happens when people live to 150?
Yeah.
Right? What does quote unquote Social Security look like? That will change. So all these things are happening in our lives right now that are going to look very different in the next 10 to 15 years. In fact, they said that the person or people who are going to live to 150 have already been born.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yeah.
They've already been born. And so now you question everything. Am I at middle age at 40? Do I want to live to 100? Right? This might be optionality, but it also becomes a bit scary in a sense, right? Because the people who are able to do that most times will have capital, right? So they have the capital to have the technology or use the specialists to their advantage, and so they stay alive longer. What about the people who don't?
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's a have and have nots. That's why that greatest transfer of wealth conversation, like that we were talking about last week, is vitally important. If we're not part of the conversation, if we're left out from a financial standpoint, from a technological standpoint, where do we end up? That's why these conversations have to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Even you speak about it with
Nah, he hit that on the head, bro. He really hit that on the head because, and it speaks perfectly to what we talk about a lot through the videos I post, which is the K-shaped economy. You know, you're seeing that a lot of people who are investing into the capital markets, into different stocks, ETFs, etc., that they've been investing consistently for a bit, they're balling right now. You feel me? They get their portfolios are looking good. The SPYs at all time highs. You know, if you got into NVIDIA when it was at $85, you bought into SoFi when it was about $10, $11, you bought into all these other stocks, Amazon when it was at 199, 195. Your portfolio is doing great. But if you didn't have the capital to put that money up, right now you're on the opposite side of the K where it's downside. And that's where he's speaking on this wealth transfer. Because a lot of it has happened, but there's so much more to come because this is just not even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to AI. It's crazy, yo. But that's why it's so important to find us a little piece of bread you can put in $5 a day, something like that, to put into the market so you can capitalize off of this opportunity.
with like an energy and like a passion, and you say, you know, like if we're left out, and I can tell that's like something personal to you. How would you describe the person that you serve? Like when you say if we're left out, who are you referring to?
I talk to a community that has been underrepresented, overlooked, and undervalued. So if you fit in those three categories, that's what we're talking to. And that comes from being in education and wanting to make sure that everybody is represented. People would fight for equality. I was always like, yeah, we're never going to be equal, but we can fight for equity. Let's do that. That becomes a bigger mission. And so those are the people that we fight for on a daily basis. We did it in finance in a way that nobody had ever seen. The guys that had information were wearing sweatshirts, wearing Timbs, wearing Jordans, wearing jeans, but we had the knowledge. And we spoke to people who often felt like they weren't part of the conversation, like that financial jargon, those big words, and what are they even saying? What are those things that are scrolling across the screen? Let's slow down. Let's break that down. Let's decode it. Jay-Z is one of my favorite artists. He had that book Decoded. I was like, this is great. He decoded his lyrics. I'm like, we can do that for finance. Let's decode it. Let's look at the matrix and let's decode it and bring it back to our people and see what they do with it. And once they realize that they could participate and really use it to their advantage, it was over. That's why there's an AI revolution happening, and there is a financial revolution that's happening. The people who are
Nah, he's spitting, yo, because I said this, I was talking to Wolf about this the other day. I said, bro, black people are gonna look different 5 years from now, bro. Not even 10, really 5, bro. Because think about who we got in the spaces now. We got EYL, We got ourselves ThinkinGenWealth. We've been doing this consistently for 3 years now, posting content, giving out free games, sharing what we learned, what we know, what we continue to learn. But then look at Aristotle giving out trading, how to do this, how to do that, how to read charts, how to read what's a pin bar, why you read volume. He's doing that in HUD terms. Look at people like Chris Sane. Chris Sane been doing this for mad long since the Facebook days. He started off on Facebook. He has a whole following that's teaching them how the equity markets work and how to find the right stocks, how to do fundamental analysis, how to do charts to the basics. You feel what I'm saying? Oh my God. There's so many different people of color in this space now that's decoding. Bro, they're not going to be the same. There's not Black people are not going to be the same in the next 5 years, even right now. And the most powerful thing about it is as we keep developing and we're expanding and we're learning how these systems work that we were never invited into, we're making them our own now and we're passing it down. Prime example, my little sister just got her first full-time role fresh out of school. Like first week got her job. We gonna organize how a 401k gonna be. We're going to organize what index funds are going to be invested into to see exactly what that looks like and what companies are in these index funds. But more importantly, we're going to structure her finances to make sure she's building up her 6 months of savings and she's investing into the equities, all right, at a consistent basis. Either it's ETFs, indexes, or individual stocks like Microsoft, whatever the case may be. We're going to have that set up because I have the knowledge to be able to do that and pass it off. For me, that ain't never happened before, bro. That ain't never happened before with Black people, and it all started with leaders like Troy, myself, and Mike, and all the other people of color who are in this space, bro. It's crazy, and it's gonna be so powerful to see what happens in the next 5 years. I promise you, it's gonna be wild.
Who were, like I said, undervalued, overlooked, and misrepresented, they're now participating at levels we've never seen. It's a great change.
Yeah. So we're gonna, for those people, for those human beings, we're gonna share how they can participate in this, like the AI revolution, the wave that's coming. But before we do, I want to get to your story.
Okay.
Because when we talk about financial literacy or like a financial revolution, it's
Yo, I didn't want to get too deep into the video because this is also bro following, so I want him to get his viewership. But y'all definitely check out the rest of this videos. I just want to give out my first quick 10-minute reaction as to what it looks like, y'all. And I'm not gonna lie, man. There's a lot to look forward to when it comes to us people of color investing. And if y'all trying to learn exactly, hey, how can I get started right now? There's 3 things that I would think you could do that I would do for myself if I was in your position. All right. Number 1, I would structure your finances to fit into the 50-30-20 rule. DWaugh, what's a 50-30-20 rule? 50-30-20 is exactly the percentages you allocate your whole annual salary. So 50% of your monthly income should be going towards your needs. 30% of your annual or your monthly income should be going towards your investments or savings. And 20% should be going towards your wants. Okay? Now, once you have that situated, that's gonna be the hardest part because you're gonna have to cut some fat. Maybe some subscriptions that you don't need. You're gonna have to go through your credit card statements and see what that is. Or you can use apps like Rocket Money to automate it and see exactly what you need to cut out. But cut the fat so that way your 30% is freed up. Okay. Now, once you get to that point and you have your 50-30-20 prepared, now you want to establish your foundation. This is step number 2. Your foundation starts with your 6 months emergency fund. 3 to 6 months at least, okay? So what you want to do before investing into anything is allocate most of your funds towards your 3 to 6 months emergency fund. So that way when a rainy day does come, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, you're prepared. You don't have to sell any of your assets to get out of that debt, okay? Either your car needs to be fixed, new tires, something in your house if you're a homeowner, or something, life be lifing. But you want to have that buffer so that way your assets aren't at risk when those things happen, okay? And then step number 3, once you have that situated, you want to get involved into the equities. You want to use a satellite model. All right. The satellite model for me is you want 60 to 65% of your investment money, your 30%, going towards ETFs. All right. ETFs are pretty much stocks that hold a bunch of other stocks at once. Okay. So when you got that 60%, you want that to go toward ETFs like VOO. That tracks the SPY, which is an ETF that holds the top 500 companies in the country. Okay, so that's the whole market right there. SPY, VOO, You could look into VTI, which is literally an index for the whole entire stock market. You could look into QQQ, which tracks technology stocks specifically, so the Google, Amazon, Nvidia. And you could look into IGV, which tracks software. So IGV is actually a pretty good price to buy at right now, but that tracks software as well. There's a lot of different ETFs out there, but my two favorite that I feel like are at a good valuation right now is FINX, which is one that's specifically for fintechs. So SoFi, Robinhood, these banks that don't have physical spaces that have a cheap valuation. I really like FINX. I also really like IGV, which is a software ETF that tracks the Microsofts, the Palantirs, the Zetas, all these good companies that are in software that got a little beat up. I really like those two ETFs right there. Once you have that 60% set up, that 30% now is going to go towards individual stocks. Okay. And you don't got to be stock picking. You don't got to have a whole portfolio of individual stocks. You just want 30% of your investment capital to go towards it. And you don't got to pick two of them. Pick three. My favorite right now for buy and holds long term is Microsoft. Really like Microsoft where it's at. What else I like? We got Microsoft. I really like SoFi as well. SoFi is growing really strong. I would like the dollar cost average in them. We got Microsoft, SoFi, and Meta. I like Meta because they're still making a lot of good money and they're down 20%. Those are three really good dollar cost average in stocks. And you can just buy those, set it up to auto. That's it. So that's 60% going to ETFs, 30% going towards individual stocks. Now, that 15%, that's going to go towards exactly like crypto. So crypto pieces, anything that you feel like you want to get a piece of, 10 to 15%, put it towards crypto. Either it's Bitcoin. My favorite is XRP and XLM. But if you want to get an overall, you could do Bitcoin, you could do Ethereum, but put a little bucket away for a little risk, at least 10% that's going towards crypto. Okay? So now you got 60% going towards ETFs, 30% going towards individual stocks. So that's what, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's 90. And then boom, crypto, 10%. You're good. That's all it takes, y'all. You don't have to actively trade like Wolf and I. You could just set up a buy or hold account like that and let compound interest do its thing. Okay? Y'all let me know if you got any questions about that. If you got any other videos you want me to do a reaction video to. This is all everything that I would do, all right? This is not financial advice. Do your own research on everything that I say. But this is something I would do if I was looking to get started in the markets. All right. It's your boy DWaugh. I'm out of here.